Three. Welcome back, everybody, and disruptors, of course, to the 81st episode of the Oligarchy Disruptor podcast with your hosts, Bennett and Leon, and of course, we have Ashley down with us as well.
Hey, guys.
All right, so we have another amazing episode for you today. We're going to talk about the newest video surveillance video that we have that came out earlier today. It was crazy viral all over Twitter. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but we're going to go ahead and play it for you again. So here it is, just a couple of days ago in the parking lot of a Wendy's. What was the name of the man? I totally forgot, actually.
The man who got shot?
Yeah.
Rayshard Brooks.
There we go. Yeah. My apologies. I was forgetting the name. But yes, he was killed by two officers in the parking lot of a Wendy's. And let's just go ahead and play the video, and then we'll talk about everything, like the justifications or whatnot after. There is no sound to this, by the way. Okay, it's kind of fast.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking maybe it's worth replaying, right?
We're definitely going to replay it, and we're going to talk about it a little slow by like part by part, right? So all right. So what do we see here? In this first picture, in the first frame of this video, which is late at night, and like I said, in a Wendy's parking lot.
It's about 11:30.
Yep, there are two officers, two cruisers, parked, and hold on. Okay, so all right. So like we were saying, there are two police cruisers all the way in front. There's a line of cars waiting in line for the Wendy's to get their food, and the reason why they're waiting in line is because this man, all right, he was in his car. That's what the story is, right? He was in his car inside the drive-thru, and the employees had called the police because he had fallen asleep, allegedly inside the car and holding up the whole line, basically, which is why they called them. So it seemed.
But I think at this point he was in a parking spot by the time they arrived.
Yeah. So that's why they were called. At this point, like you said, I'm pretty sure he was in there, but we don't know which car is his or if it's in the image or not. But you're going to see him across the screen right now. And of course, with those two officers, right? So as you see here, there's two officers. There is the suspect or the man. What's his name again? Gerard, right?
Rayshard Brooks.
Rayshard. And Rayshard is all the way in front. And he has a little flashlight in his hand. He's running around with it. Well, what it looks like to be a flashlight, right? So what we know a little later on, because of this video, is that is actually a taser. That is one of the police officers' tasers that he took from them. So they already are drawing their guns at this point as well, right away, as soon as he walks away from them, because, it's understandable. But at the same time, I don't think they should have shot him for holding a non-lethal weapon or shooting a non-lethal weapon. But we'll go on to that. So go ahead.
And I think it's really important to note, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I think it's important for everybody to know who isn't familiar with this story quite yet, because it's very recent, that they did a sobriety test on Brooks and he failed. So he was intoxicated at this moment as well, which I think is important to note, because we have all been in those situations. Well, maybe not all of us, but I know I have been in those situations where I have been intoxicated and in doing embarrassing things. So I think that it's important to maybe note too that the whole taking the policeman's taser, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but I think that maybe he wasn't thinking. Well, he clearly wasn't thinking rationally because he was intoxicated.
Mm-hmm. I think a clear-headed person would try to take any kind of firearm off of a police officer. I'm sure 99.99% of people would not try to do that. But we should take it, I feel like, as a case-by-case basis. And specifically during this time, everything is being looked through the black lens. So, and I feel like this is a time where, I mean, the police has always been supported, you know, like I feel like we should always give, at least now, people should give the benefit of the doubt to the people, you know, to the suspect, just like there always has been in like the court of law, right? Like
supposed to be
in the justice system, yeah, you know. So, so let's continue.
Well, and I just think that we were talking about earlier how police officers are not necessarily trained properly in de-escalating situations. And when you have a situation where somebody is intoxicated or mentally ill, using your firearm should not be the first mode of action.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not the first. I don't know about not at all.
Well, yeah, I would also probably say, yeah, unless they're charging you or something, you know, I guess that's true, because they did try to use their stun gun and then shot him.
Like, but I get it. You know, like we get it.
Think of how many people run away from the police every single year. They don't shoot at them, you know, like, I just think that it wasn't necessary, especially the fact that this guy was intoxicated and not thinking, you know, he wasn't in his right mind.
Yeah, let's just continue with the observation, and we'll comment at the end a little more. So like here we see, we just saw him, I'll play back for you in case you know.
Yeah, it's kind of quick because he's just running.
Okay, here we go. There we go. So we see him shoot back with a taser, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see him also maybe take the impact from that or get hit from the taser. We don't know, honestly. I can't.
Or maybe like dodge or something.
Yeah, but he hits the car. The police officer hits the car in front of him, and at the same time is reaching. He already had his gun out, but now he's pointing his gun, shooting to kill, and he gets him. Right away, this guy goes down as soon as he shoots. And we know he shoots, even though we can't hear, because we see the car start to move. Or we see the car start to move a little bit. The driver's getting nervous and shit. But like, and then the police officer is immediately rushing, of course. So like, that's basically how the video ends. We'll let it play out again, of course. But yeah, so we can see like, yeah, I've had enough. We've seen enough. We don't want to be around a murder scene. Just kidding. Never mind. We want to report it. That's what he said. But I mean, during this time, I feel like everybody should at the same time anyways. So after watching that, like, what should we take away? You know, like, was it justified for the police to shoot that man because he shot back at him with his own taser? And what I think is that the answer should be no, because a taser is a non-lethal weapon. And that's the only reason why. And he had a gun, you know, and a gun obviously can kill people. So he was shooting to kill, and the other guy was just trying to like get away from them or something, just scared or some shit. But this is just highlighting the fact, like you mentioned earlier, that they aren't trained enough in de-escalation, or at least they just don't give a fuck in these cases enough, you know, just because he's black, he might discriminate. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier as well, like how police, we've seen in selective cases, like you want to bring up those like domestic terrorists, those white domestic terrorists that like shoot up black churches and shit, or shoot up the Aurora like theater or whatever in Colorado, and come out unscathed. They come out not only unscathed but alive, like completely like nothing happened to them. but at the same time, all these Black people, year after year, decade after decade, are killed at massive rates or arrested at massive rates. The income and wealth
while being unarmed.
Black and white people is astronomical. Black people were never given the 40 acres and a mule. Black people were redlined in the 50s and 60s, never given the same economic opportunity. Not only that, but they were enslaved for fucking 200, 300 years or whatever.
Well, and there's still housing discrimination. There's still discrimination for people going, applying for jobs, applying for school. There's discrimination within our police force, which in turn gives more Black folks the label of felon versus other races, and then in turn they have a harder time getting government benefits, social welfare programs they don't qualify for. That's why racism is so systematic, and I think what's really important about this situation is this is why people are calling to defund the police. Because this is an exact situation where police used excessive force. This man was unarmed. If you really think about it, he had a stun gun. He had a taser. He was unarmed. He did not have, like you were saying, the lethal force that was used upon him. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the fact that you have people in our law enforcement that are so quick to use that weapon, and with people who are not coming at them with that weapon, is scary. It's scary.
It is, to say the least, because we see the police are just going to bat for themselves, and they're not owning up. Some police departments are, some police departments aren't. It's kind of weird to see all across the country how some people are taking weird or definitely very polarizing tones when it comes to Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, and how the changes that they're going to do in their own departments and whatnot. So,
and the Atlanta police chief actually stepped down after this whole thing. We had talked about that earlier. The police chief at this, the Atlanta police chief, which is where this situation happened. She stepped down within 24 hours of this happening. I mean, this happened at 11:30 last night, and it hasn't been 24 hours, and we're already hearing that she has stepped down. So she stepped down earlier today.
That's dope. That is really
It's cool. Crazy.
It is.
It's crazy. I almost don't know what to think about it. Is this her being complicit and not saying anything? Or is this her taking a stand and saying, screw you guys, I don't want to put up with this anymore?
I think this is her taking responsibility for her police officers. That's what I think.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I could see that being the buck stopped with me. All right, I should resign. It makes sense, but I mean, who knows? That's only speculation. But yeah. So anything else you want to mention about this, or should we wrap up here?
Yeah, definitely. We can wrap up here.
Alrighty, you heard it from her, guys. Thank you so much for listening in and tuning in or watching, whatever you're doing. Thank you for that. And please definitely follow us on our social media pages. Ashley, where can they find us?
You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. We also have a website on wordpress.com where we write articles, and you can find all of our other platforms to listen to our podcast onto. Anchor. Oh my gosh, every single Spotify, Apple Podcast. Jeez, We're on everything, Bennett. We're
by the way, for Apple Podcast listeners, please write a review. We would very much appreciate that as well, or reviews anywhere you guys are watching this, or
5 stars.
Get back from you. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, guys.